Would you like to know why reading is like running? My name is Sue Bell. I have 3 tips for you based on this concept that reading is like running. They all come from the science of language and our user testing. I think this will be particularly useful to people who write content for users and customers when that's not your main role. It's just one of the things that you do, because there are certain difficulties associated with that. And perhaps these insights from the science of language will help you. I hope so. So the first reason why reading is like running is that both are about going forward. Now, you might think, Susan, that's obvious when you're running. Of course, you're going forward. What I mean, though, is that when you're running, you put your foot on the floor and you're not really thinking on the floor or on the ground. You're not really thinking about that foot. You're looking ahead. And what you're wanting to see when you're looking ahead is a smooth way forward. You don't want to see something that might cause you to slip or cause you to fall or cause a detour that will slow you down. And reading is the same in that what happens when we read is that our eyes will, first of all, see the word. All of this incredibly fast happening. The brain then uses long-term memory to say, do we know this word? But while that's happening, the eyes are looking forward and they're looking at the next words, the next phrase, the next layout. And it's just the same as with running. What we want to do is have a smooth way forward. We don't want to slip or fall or need to make a detour. So that's why reading is like running. So, and we know this from eye tracking. That's shown, that people's eyes look ahead from where they appear to be reading, just like when we run. The second reason why reading is like running is that it's important where you start. Now, in my example here on the picture, I've shown a start point for a race. So if you're running a race, it's important that you know where the start point is. Now, if you're reading a novel, you would probably know where the start point was and you'd start there. If you're reading an email from a friend, you'd probably know where the start was and you would start there. But quite often we found in our user testing that people don't know necessarily where to start when they are looking at customer information or user information, and they don't necessarily start at the beginning. And that's an easy problem to solve because it can be solved with layout once you know that that's what's happening. And a tip here is that when you wrote it, wanted perhaps your users or customers to do something when they read your email or landing page, the user doesn't know that, and so what they might do is just simply glance at it and look at really the first bright shiny object, which can be the first big heading. So that's why it's important to tell people where to start. The third reason why reading is like running is that you stop when you're tired. Now, as in this picture, the runner can get some energy back and start again, or, go home. What you might do with a novel is, if you're tired when you're reading, you might put it down and then come back to it. What we found is that with user and customer information, people don't do that. If they get tired from reading a customer letter, say, or a statement, they don't say, oh, I think I'll come back to that in the way you might when you're reading a novel or when you're running. It's like, nah, I'm done now. This insight comes from neuroscience, as it says here on the slide, that when people suffer from cognitive overload, that's when they're reading, that's when they will tire, and they get cognitive overload when they are faced with complex content. And it would be the same when you're running, really. If you're having to run some kind of complex race where you're dodging everything, that would be more tiring, like hurdles, I guess. Now, this is what complex content is. Any content where the words are long, when there's a short alternative. Unfamiliar words, they're like what a runner might see ahead of them. They might think, oh, what is that? Is that something I'm going to fall over? Is that something I know? And it slows you down and tires you out. In a way, what's even most tiring is words we half recognize, because we'll spend our cognitive resources and our working memory thinking, well, I think I know what that means. And the same with words with more than one meaning if the context doesn't make it immediately clear. So all words can tire us out. Sentences can tire us out. Long sentences, long sentence with multiple phrases in them, and passive construction also can tire us out, because we have to worry about, we sort of wonder about, well, who's the subject of this sentence? What am I supposed to be doing here? And if you're reading and thinking, what am I supposed to be doing here? Then your cognitive resources have been seriously overloaded. It needs to be obvious, so you don't have to think like that. So at Susan Bell Research, my research agency, we test written content with users. So I have a linguistics background and we are researchers. So we've designed a user testing service to help managers write according to the way their customers read. Now, to do that, we suggest that you learn how to think like your customer or user. If you think like a manager, you will probably use your work voice rather than your customer's voice. It's also helpful to know how your customer or user is likely to be thinking or feeling at the time they're reading your information. Are they going to feel puzzled? Are they going to feel relieved? Are they going to feel enlightened? I don't know, but that will help you write to them if you understand what they're thinking and feeling. But it helps to know how people read. So just like when people run, people can start anywhere and they can stop any time. They can take shortcuts and detours. And as a writer, you really need to do that. It's an expensive exercise, acquiring and retaining customers, and you don't want to make that inefficient for you or lose custom because of a simple thing, a simple layout problem. Often it's just a simple layout or a rewording that can help. So remember, reading is like running. Readers want a smooth run without stumbles, falls, or fatigue. That can help you as a writer, I think, but the business can also benefit, depending on what the business wants to achieve, of course. But perhaps it would be that there'll be more customers using your self-service content because they understand what you're trying to tell them. Therefore could easily be reduced load on the call center. And we've seen that many times with our clients, that clearer communication reduces use of the call center and greater engagement with the brand as well, because this experience has been easy. So if you want to experience these benefits from user testing of written content, you can contact me on the email address you can see there. But also take a visit to the website. There is a tab dedicated to user testing of written content. There's quite a lot of information there. And then, of course, you can get in touch if you have any questions. Thank you.